So the signing of Lionel Messi created seismic shifts in the North American soccer scene, putting unprecedented amounts of attention on this sport in North America, and also rocketing Inter Miami to a contender for both the MLS Cup, the Leagues Cup, and the CONCACAF Champions League. And yeah, this can all be attributed to Messi, but they also signed other stars to accompany him. Stars that have some really good chemistry with the guy. Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, and now Rodrigo de Paul. Well, this project is still ongoing, so it's hard to determine whether you can consider this a success on field or not. So far, Messi and Inter Miami have only tallied up one title, and that was the Leagues Cup in 2023, in that unbelievable run they had. But today's video isn't about Messi and Inter Miami. That's pretty well documented. If anything, it's probably the most well-covered team in North America now, thanks to Messi. But when it comes to North American soccer, and in this case, I guess particularly the US, Messi's decision to come to the United States is not itself without precedent among elite footballers from outside of North America. But let's see how these other major stars performed while in the same role as Messi now, just in different time periods, in a different soccer culture. Let's start with North America's first massive superstar signing, happening in the 1970s for the New York Cosmos of the then NASL. We're talking about Pelé, arguably the GOAT, if not at least the GOAT of his era, according to most people. He spent around 19 seasons at Santos in Brazil. And mind you, this is a time where the Brazilian league was on par, if not better, than most European leagues. This is an elite time in the Brazilian league's history, and Pelé was at the forefront of that, scoring 569 goals in 583 appearances. That's officially. And after that generational run at Santos, Pelé surprisingly decided to go north on the American continent, landing in New York, where he signed for the historic Cosmos organization. The signing really was made out of nowhere, and it took New York sports media by surprise. There was massive fanfare at his unveiling, where apparently he got injured by a mob that descended on him wanting to see him. And while yeah, Pelé was older at this time, he made a massive impact. He scored 37 goals in 64 appearances, and he was at the forefront of their 1977 Soccer Bowl victory. Soccer Bowl was the championship game at the time. He was in the squad to defeat the Seattle Sounders, thank God, as the Cosmos lifted the Soccer Bowl. And that title win was in Pelé's third and final season. But see, the New York Cosmos were not done there. In that final season, the Cosmos signed Franz Beckenbauer, a former World Cup winner and one of Germany's most prolific players of all time. And some would argue he might be the GOAT of all German soccer today even. He joined Pelé for that last season in 1977, and they won that Soccer Bowl I mentioned together. But as Pelé moved on, Beckenbauer was just getting started. See, Beckenbauer was a defender, but so strong was his impact that even today he's still considered one of the best players of all time. Evidence that you don't have to be a striker or a midfielder to be considered a GOAT. Shout out Fabio Cannavaro, and shout out Lev Yashin, of course. Beckenbauer had a legendary run at Bayern Munich where he won multiple Bundesligas. Then he joined the Cosmos, where he would go on to win 3 soccer bowls for New York Cosmos. And after Pelé and then Beckenbauer left, North American soccer was never the same. It never reached those highs again. And as the 80s progressed, the game petered out and the NASL folded for the first time. The 80s became the 90s, and North American soccer was in limbo. US soccer was completely disorganized. Canada had its own league for a few seasons before it couldn't sustain itself and folded in 1992. Then there was the next major project in North American soccer, the MLS, Major League Soccer. It started in 1996, and while its first decade started relatively smoothly, I mean, there was some foldings here and there, but no one was expecting this to become a mega league or anything, but it grew slowly but surely. A few MLS teams even won the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and things were steadily getting better. But there was one thing missing in the MLS that North American soccer leagues, quite frankly, need. They thrive off of this, and it's buzz, and it's celebrity, especially in the modern era, and that's exactly why David Beckham fit the bill. Now look, David Beckham retired a while ago, but I think most people still know of his impact. Of course, he was a mesmerizing player on the pitch. He was incredible. He scored banger goals, he was great at free kicks, and he had a football IQ that very few could match in the UK. But there was something else about him. He was an icon. He embraced who he was. In his prime, he was considered one of the most handsome men in the world. Beckham and his media team jumped right on that, accepting brand deals, doing modeling, doing a bunch of things that made Beckham transcend soccer. Most people even know the phrase "bend it like Beckham," even if they've never watched soccer before. And after successful stints at Man United and Real Madrid, which are already pretty buzzworthy teams at almost any point in football history, imagine the frenzy when he joins the LA Galaxy in the MLS in 2007. And what a strategic move it was to join the LA Galaxy. And not only is it in LA, the media and celebrity capital of the entire continent, it's LA, Hollywood, you know what I mean. But the LA Galaxy themselves were basically the most established team at the time, about as close as you can get to a sort of dynastic team. So it made sense for someone as media savvy as Beckham to join them. And as we know now, another condition for him joining the league was to get his own franchise. And of course, that's a thread we're going to follow later in this video. So yeah, unprecedented attention to North American soccer for the time. And this signing is credited with giving MLS its kind of modern expansionist boom. Now, Beckham didn't find immediate success at the LA Galaxy. In 2011, the Galaxy finally cracked the code, winning the MLS Cup. And then in 2012, they repeated the feat, before Beckham finally said farewell and went to AC Milan. Now, in the following decade, other stars from Europe and South America would follow in Beckham's lead, and in the later years of their career, join MLS. Steven Gerrard did it. Kaká did it. Didier Drogba did it in Montreal. But none had the impact that Messi did when he joined Inter Miami in 2023. As we're still living with Beckham's signing today, he finally got his project off the ground in 2020, as Inter Miami made their debut in the stunted COVID season. And the following two seasons were abysmal. The team was doing terribly, as most people will now know. But they had rich and famous backing. And in the middle of a terrible 2023 season, Inter Miami made the plunge, as they signed Messi and Suarez in quick succession, as well as Jordi Alba. And as we know, this is still ongoing, so it's hard to compare Messi's on-field success to the other guys we just mentioned. There was some immediate success. They won a title almost immediately with the League's Cup, given this is a tournament that didn't exist when any of the other guys were playing. But nonetheless, it's a tournament that's taken pretty seriously by all the teams involved, and the 2023 version was probably the most bloated. It had every team from both leagues, I'm pretty sure. So it's not like that was an easy one to win. But since then, Miami just hasn't replicated that magical League's Cup run, falling short in the US Open Cup final that year, and the next year being bounced in the playoffs by Atlanta United in 2024, and failing to capture any other major titles. But the media frenzy around Messi's time in Miami is nonetheless influential, especially as there are avenues for getting recognition that didn't exist when Pelé, Beckenbauer, and Beckham were playing. We're talking TikToks, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, a more rabid 24/7 news cycle, and yeah, Messi has brought an unprecedented amount of attention to MLS and to North American soccer. Basically, every game he goes to, home or away, is going to be a sellout just because he's there. As of this recording, he scored 39 goals in 43 games, and still as magical on the pitch as he ever was anywhere. So we'll see how this 2025 campaign goes, but as far as superstars deciding to go to America to play, Messi is in some pretty elite company. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, I'd love to make a video perhaps about major superstars who have joined Canadian or Mexican soccer, if we're talking more broadly North America. All the signings I've talked about have been in the United States and in big United States markets, LA and New York, and now Miami. So perhaps a video about major Mexican or Canadian signings is in order. Let me know. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
برسا بجمهوره بانتماء قصة عشق أكثر من مجرد نادي.